All right. You guys know we've been following the story today about the voter cards. A lot of people got some in the mail. Some people picked up some from the GOP, was handing them out. I think they're still handing them out at polling places. So this story just keeps on getting wilder, man. And my next guest in this conversation is saying both of these cards are fake. Both of these cards are illegit. Why did I feel like I was Jerry Springer when I was saying that, Jamie? Um, Jamie Parham is with me to talk about this as well, man. Jamie, I know you've had some experience with the local GOP. You served in leadership out there. Can you just tell me what your role was, what your role is with the St. John's GOP?
Right. Well, I'm the current elected vice chair of the St. Johns County GOP. The former chairman was removed. Actually, he was removed partly because of what I informed the Republican Party of what they were doing. So that put me in as interim chair. And since then, it's not, there's still grievances in the process. So I'm either the interim chairman or I'm the current vice chairman until December.
All right. So, I mean, it seems like there's been a lot of this, not just here. I mean,
Right.
it seems like there's like sort of a rift. Maybe it's just in Florida, maybe it's across the country. I don't really know, but we're here in Florida. But it seems like there's been a rift in the Republican Party as of late. And I see it as like the DeSantis folks versus the Trump folks. And I don't know if you think that's where the rift is. And if
No.
not, where do you think that is?
That,
And what do you
that's
do
not the
about it?
rip that's going on here. That's what they want people to believe. These people that
Okay.
are running as grassroots are actually being helped by Democrats, and they're pretending to be America first. That's what's going on here. What happened in our local party? The former chairman and the current board, with the exception of one person, were actually raising money in the name of the Republican Party, and they spent about $150,000 on their own candidates with no endorsements. So the bank account is empty. Once I figured out what they were doing, the former chairman kept me out of my own meetings using police officers since October when I figured out what they were doing. He was removed for that. So that's kind of where we're at. And then to
So
give
does
you an
that tie
idea,
in with these? Does that tie in with these the folks that we saw on the voter list that got mailed, which our local GOP says that did not come from them, even though it did
right?
say up on the top St. John's GOP endorsed candidates or whatever.
No,
Um,
that one's completely illegitimate. I have no idea who sent that one out. That one's illegitimate, but the one that the St. Johns County GOP is sending out is also 100% illegitimate. What happened, the former chairman and the people that are involved with him drove off about 84 members out of our local party. They embezzled money, they committed bank fraud to cover it up. The treasurer was removed because he refused to put me on the bank account. And then when we were doing the election to elect a replacement chair, the secretary sent out emails to my supporters saying that the meeting was on a different night, telling only my supporters that they couldn't vote for me. And then in person during the election, she was turning people away at the door and telling them that they were guests, so they couldn't vote for me. They were doing all of this in conjunction and in collusion with Denver Cook, who's the current fake chair. And that's what happened. And now they've covered up and they've successfully kept us from seeing the bank account. And then we had a membership vote to ask to see the bank account. And they led a rally to prevent the membership from seeing their own bank account. So, and then these were the same people. He's an illegitimate chair. So as an illegitimate chair, because of the fruit of the poisonous tree, he cannot call a meeting for endorsements, number one. Number two, when they did the endorsements, the secretary lied about the amount of people that were there. They didn't notify all the people that they were supposed to notify, so they didn't follow the rules according to the RPOF. And while they're getting away with it right now, all of this information is now with the state party. So it's up to them now to decide. It may be too late. The primary may be over by then. They move slowly. It took about 6 months to get rid of Blake Patterson, and he was blatantly breaking the rules and even challenging the RPOF to get rid of. So that's why they're both illegitimate. I completely disavow the ones that were sent out that were sent out saying that just recently. Yeah, those are completely illegitimate. But so are the ones that the GOP is using right now, because it was They broke the rules, and the chairman is not even legitimate. His paperwork wasn't even right.
So,
He's not even a member
and
yet.
he's been, I guess he's been the acting chairman for a couple of months now. Am I correct? Is it
Right.
longer?
And we've had no
Shorter than that? A
meeting
couple
since
of
he's
months.
been the acting chairman. One meeting, and that was only for endorsements because they had to
So has
legitimize.
this?
Right.
I'm sorry, my bad. My bad. Zoom
Yeah.
lag.
No,
Did
no,
we?
that's fine.
Is there any? Is there any like information that you have pointed to, or has he been challenged at all by
Yes.
any groups?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We have tons of information. We've actually shared it several times on North Florida Patriots. We shared it on different St. Augustine news groups. We have all of the pictures. We have receipts, and that's the thing. Whenever I say something, I produce the receipts. The man had incorrect paperwork when he turned it into the SOE. So he was not even a member when he ran for chairman, and he only became a fake member a month before he ran for chairman. So this was just coordinated to keep them in control of the bank account because they spent all of the money of the Republican Party raised in the name of Republicans to fight against each other in the primaries. And now we have zero money left to fight for Donald Trump in November. And that's where we're at. Our bank account is empty.
Well, it's an interesting
Didn't hear
twist
that
to this
before,
whole
did you?
thing, man. I mean,
Yeah,
it really is an interesting twist to this whole thing. And I'm not a member of the local GOP, so
right.
I'm not necessarily. I don't know how they operate. So, but it's a very interesting thing to look into. But
Mhm.
I think the heart of the issue that we were dealing with this morning was this fake mailers. I think that's pretty much been cleared up at
Right.
this point. But it's just very interesting how crazy elections get and how wild elections
Well,
get, man. Even here in little old St. Johns County, and these are the most important ones, man. So I think it is important to stress to people that in this primary election,
mhm.
this is it. Who we vote for on down much of this ballot this is their last chance, your last chance to vote for them, period, no matter who you're voting for. And I'm not
Right.
somebody who I don't endorse candidates. I like to let people make their own decisions on the
Right.
candidates.
Mhm.
And so that's kind of
And the
where I
Republican
stand
Party
on
shouldn't
that.
endorse candidates either, because now you're speaking for the whole party.
Don't they
There are
typically do they typically endorse
never,
candidates?
they never do this. The reason why Blake and his people drove off our members was so that they could endorse. They drove off the people that disagree with them by their antics in meetings. These people get up in your face, they spit on you. One at the first meeting that I ran as chairman, actually grabbed my arm and spit in my face on video and was arrested. So they've driven off traditional members of the REC and replaced them with only people that agree with them. So it's not normally done. There are other groups. There's the Trump Club. There's the Women's Federated Republican Club. There's the RLC. There's the Tea Party. There's tons of ways that you can endorse candidates. And then as a voter, you should be able to pick, hey, that group is most in line with my ideology. So I'm going to go with their endorsements. But by doing it as the Republican Party, they're now speaking for the entire Republican, all the Republicans in St. John's. And you just shouldn't do that, especially when, and you can, there is a process for doing it, and you can do it through that process, which they ignored and did the wrong way anyway. But it shouldn't be done because it's speaking for everyone, and you're not supposed to do that as the party. And that's what they've done. And we've proven that that's what they've done. And we've proven why, because they already spent all the money on their candidates that they already raised in the name of the Republican Party.
So I got to ask you this: what do you think is the solution to kind of tear or to kind of bridge this divide? What do you think is the
Well,
solution there?
I think the RPOF needs to make a rule change and say that the party doesn't endorse in the primaries, because what this and this one in particular, St. John's, we have successfully raised $150,000 and spent $150,000 before we ever even faced a single Democrat in an election. And that's not what you're supposed to do. As a party, you're not supposed to do that. So they could maybe change the rule and say don't endorse in a primary. It'd be as simple as that. It would get rid of a lot of this infighting. It would let us focus on REC is supposed to do. And here's what the REC is supposed to do that we haven't done for the past 2 years since these people have been in charge. They're supposed to do poll watchers. For the first time in memorable history, we've had zero poll watchers from the REC. We're supposed to do voter registration drives. Right now, St. Johns County is ranked 66th out of 67 counties in Republican voter registration. That's an utter failure on the Republican Party's fault. You know, it's another thing they're supposed to do. Mail-in ballots. We were supposed to do drives to reach out to people who did mail-in ballots. We have 8,000 people in our county that we don't know whether they got their mail-in ballots or not. That was supposed to be up to us to make sure that they did, because they historically.
And how do you know? How do you know those things? Like, what's the typical process of?
I got all this information from the state party.
Track.
Yeah, I got this information from the state party directly. So, you know, like for example, one of the other things they were supposed to do, they supposedly spent $45,000 to increase membership in the REC and to increase voter turnout for our president for the last election we had, the presidential preference. And we've lost 84 members. And we had the lowest, we ranked number 63 out of 67 in voter turnout. So that's a complete failure. But they still managed to spend the money on none other than Linda Thompson, the secretary, who's also running for school board. That money went to her campaign manager. So to say that this is it's embezzlement and fraud. And then I have been calling them out about this since October. Since October, they've been keeping me out of the meetings using police. The last time I went to the headquarters, which I paid for, by the way, for the past 2 months while they weren't giving me access to the bank account. The last time I went to the campaign headquarters, they called the police on me. And what I found was that they were putting together these campaign door knockers for their volunteers to hand out. And if you notice, I don't know if you see that person, but he's not even a fake endorsed candidate. Yet they're putting all of his stuff in the information that they're handing out with all of the volunteers as the official endorsements of the REC. So that's the type of people we're dealing with.
Well, Jamie, hey man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate the conversation. I don't know if I have absorbed it all yet, but I'm going to go back and watch it, man. And,
well, I have all the receipts. If you're interested, like I said, I have all of the evidence. It's currently with the state party. It's up to them to do what they do with it. But obviously, they have more important things to do right now, like help get Trump elected, which we're not capable of doing because we spent all of our money in the primary against each other. So thank you.
Yeah. Hey, man. I hope the rift can be patched in some way, shape, or form. I think it's been going on too long. I think, I think Republicans need to figure out how to get that done, man, for the benefit of the Republican Party, I would imagine.
I agree.
Jamie, thank you very much for your time, man. I appreciate you.
Pete, anytime. And like I said, I can back everything up with receipts, and I'll be glad to send them to you. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Hey,
all right.
Take care.